when Mr. Dawson here commented on some of these international antecedents of some of these policies that you're dealing with. One of your members made a very unfortunate allusion to his comments being somewhat evocative of people back in the 50s who attacked the civil rights movement on the basis that perhaps some of the proponents were communists. And we think that comment was very unfortunate, that this has nothing to do with people talking to you about some of the relationships of these public policies, and it was very unfortunate. And then Mayor Marx kind of piled on and asked County Counsel to opine on the authority of the United Nations in San Luis Obispo County, and obviously she's a legal expert and understands these matters fully. And then Deputy County Counsel McNulty says, absolutely, and then of course he corrects with not any. We took those to be cynical and mocking comments and severely disagree with it. On another matter, you should be aware the county has in its CAFR $102 million largely unrestricted surplus. They could advance money. $7 million is what Caltrans says to fix the highway, and then you could all work on getting it back for them. Avoid their bureaucratic and big state structures, and you could fix it now.
Morning, Mr. President. I'm Terry Strickland. On the Agenda 21 item, I understand why you would be skeptical. I learned most of what I know about it from a liberal Democrat who lives in the Bay Area and has a wonderful website called Democrats Against You and Agenda 21. And if you don't know the history of this, you should read it. You should get on that website and do some homework. Because what she says is, how could something that sounds so good be so bad? Who wouldn't want to be sustainable, vibrant, walkable, bikeable, green? These buzzwords were designed to make you think that you're doing something good for the planet. This is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. Sustainable development was created and defined by the United Nations. Clinton began to implement it in the U.S. in '93 by giving the American Planning Association a multi-million-dollar grant to write a land use legislative blueprint for every municipality in the United States. Smart growth is not just the preferred building style for UN Agenda 21 sustainable development. It is the ideology. This ideology is being used as the justification to radically make changes by unelected regional boards and commissions. It is remaking government. This democratic revolution in private property rights extends to every facet of our lives: education, energy, food, housing, transportation. We are being told that this is our plan, but it's not. We object to this manipulation and refuse to be subjected to it. To the public, I say, get educated, speak out, be the resistance. And because each of you have a big responsibility to your constituents, you owe it to them to do your homework.
My name is Jeanette Watson. I'm from Arroyo Grande. I know we rarely hear about Agenda 21 on TV or radio, liberal or conservative. Now it's a race to exploit. There are three parts to Agenda 21. Economic collapse creates a chain of events. Reduction in law enforcement, increased costs of gasoline, higher costs for energy, electricity. Agenda 21 is actually social engineering, paid for by your property taxes, our property taxes. It's ecologically motivated regulation with smart meters, well monitoring, wildland programs that prohibit roads and trails into rural areas. Agricultural lands also that restrict farmers and ranchers using their lands and therefore making it impossible to farm and endangering our food supply. And social equity, it's another corner. It's, property is detrimental to life. That's what the Agenda 21 says. Individual freedom is selfish and injures those who are less free. Can you not see that Agenda 21 is a massive land grab for the Earth's resources disguised as a method to protect the planet and its life systems, when in essence it is to take total control over people, their numbers, how many are going to be on this Earth, and where they live, where they work, what they eat, what they drive, how far they drive. If Agenda 21 does succeed, if it does, it too will affect the lives of all the leaders who push for its implementation, except who maybe knows, maybe the elites, whoever they are.
Thank you, ma'am. My name is Edward Veek. I'm a retired engineer from IBM. I was a systems analyst and engineer. My generation was taught to do our own research. It appears that many of the new planning generations are using the cookbooks developed by someone other than themselves. Those planners feel that they are doing something that makes them look good and sound smart, but they are being used. They have not done their research that would prove that the real objective is not one of which they would actually approve. The real objective is to construct a new world government, as explained in the United Nations Agenda 21. That government is not one to be ruled by our United States Constitution, not the one developed by the free peoples of the United States of America. The term sustainable development was first introduced to the world in the pages of a 1987 report, Our Common Future, produced by the United Nations World Commission on Environment and Development. That was authored by Gro Harlem Brundtland, who was Vice President of the World Socialist Party. The term was first offered as an official United Nations policy in 1992, again on the United Nations Agenda 21, the orange book that you just saw. They issued it at the UN's Earth Summit. Today it's referred simply as Agenda 21 or simply as Sustainable Development. Here's a short highlight of terms in history I've delivered to Mr. Rummel. And it's distributed. It has a short highlight of terms in history. I pray that you read its sinister objectives and share it with your advisory staff. It is an evaluation. It's a short write-up that has been left for your approval and your education. And I have 8 seconds, and I have to commend some of the speakers that have spoken on Agenda 21 already. And I think you're doing a good job, and you need to listen to the people.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Sue Shamambala Grandi. To quote something that I don't usually go to that often, but looked it up just for the heck of it to see how common it is. Wikipedia, Agenda 21. Agenda 21 is a non-binding, voluntarily implemented action plan of the United Nations with regard to sustainable development. This is all used in our county. Smart growth, sustainable greenhouse gases, green, CO2, cap and trade, climate change, regional plans and regional boards, adaptation, scoping plans, mitigation, compliance, toolbox, infill, AB 32 and 375, ICLEI. Wow, lots to learn and understand. Where do these words originate? Not too hard to figure out. The poisonous foxglove flower, it's beautiful, as are many plants and animals. It's used in medicine, but deer won't touch it. So, beware, what can be used as good can also be used as a bad thing. Agenda 21 is not a conspiracy theory, as media likes to state. It is a plan, and it has those 300 pages and 40 chapters. Media has not educated themselves. Maybe some of the members of the various boards have not done so either. I guess that they might be the conspiracy theorists, those who don't know. Please use kindness and respect when listening and responding to citizens here to share their issues with you. Remember, you also are citizens, and that respect goes both ways.
Thank you. I'd like to share my sign with you. first thing I do is always, when I'm arguing with someone, is the premise. And the premise here is that global warming is an evil thing. And I'm going to say, no, it's a good thing. Global warming will make much more land available for people to live on. The former Soviet Union, Russia and Canada are the two largest countries in the world when it comes to area. And then the northern part of the northern hemisphere. There will be plenty of land for people to live in. If the place where you're living is flooding, move. Humans have moved all over this planet, and we can do that. And we have done that for the last 30,000 years at least. So the premise is wrong. Global warming is a good thing. We should encourage it. We should allow people to drive, use electricity, use fuels, and better their lives by industry. And those all it takes all those things to do industry, and it raises people's lives. If you're a true environmentalist, there are two things you should believe. One, that there are too many people on Earth, and therefore there's too much pollution, and only humans and their activity pollute. If you believe, as a person, that in those two things, and you're a true environmentalist, you should recycle yourselves immediately by burying yourself in a tree, under the tree, and turn into a global warming denier, not denier, stopping global warming by having a zero carbon footprint and cutting the world's population down by one. You. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, I was walking down the street just the other day when two fine-looking women folk happened to walk my way. Now, one said, something stinks. The other one said, you right. Then I started slipping and sliding, and I knew something wasn't right.
Step in what? Step in what? Step in what?
Now, everybody knows. They say the smell of the fellow, but everybody knows just what it is. Now there's some four-legged creature out playing on my mind. He's got a ham bone on his breast and evil in his hind. I'm gonna find myself a stick and scrape off these blues, and go on down to the DAV and buy myself some shoes.
Step in what? Step in what? Step in what?
Now, everybody knows. They say smell of the fella, but everybody knows just what it is. I carry me a roll of paper towels in my briefcase every night. Got me a can of Lysol too, and that makes everything right. And there's them same two women folk I just saw the other day, and they both got sticks scraping off their shoes with their heads turned the other way.
Step in what? What is step in? Step in what?
Now everybody knows. They say the smell of the fella, but everybody knows just what it is. Now they say what goes around comes around, and I know that's got to be true. So don't you folks be laughing too hard, because next time it might be you. And if it ever happened to you, well, that's really not a sin. And what's this I feel underneath my shoe? I done made that same mistake again.
Step in what? Step in what? Step in what?
Everybody knows. smell of the fella, but everybody knows just what it is.
Stepped in what? Stepped in what? Stepped in right.
Everybody knows. They say smell of the fella, but everybody knows just what it is.